Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news. Greg, guess what day it is?
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
Now, Mike, I have to admit that I was tempted to play that song yesterday for Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo. Oh, I thought just because you thought it was Tuesday, because you get the days wrong a lot.
I do. But, hey, all that having been said, I had a good time yesterday. Missed you, but had a good time nonetheless.
I think that would have been all right to play yesterday. Yeah, they're doing okay.
Yeah, but the problem was it was that or the Trumpty dance, and I wanted to hear the Trumpty dance.
You could have played the Margarita song.
I could have played the Margarita song.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
I did not have that.
margarita.
I do not have that in. I do not have that in waiting. Otherwise, that would have been
Oh.
a very good idea.
Gotcha. Not in the standby. Got it.
Not in the standby, unfortunately. In any case, sir, how was your Cinco de Mayo?
Good. We had the appropriate level of alcohol indulgence. It was all right. I today went and got food on the way home from work. Just went and sat down. It was like five. I looked at my watch. I'm like, man, it's 5 minutes to 6. What am I going to watch on TV? Like 5 minutes to 6. It's almost as if I should be doing something else, because I had that feeling of like, why I got nothing to do right now? What's wrong? There's something wrong. There's something wrong. Something going on.
Why do I
sat down
feel
to
a
eat.
little too relaxed?
Yeah. I sat down with my sandwich, watched the TV, nobody home yet, and then it hit me. So I ran out here. But my sandwich came with fries, and you can't eat cold fries, so I'm eating them now while we're on the show. So.
Cannot eat cold fries. Trust me, we understand.
No.
We understand. Just don't chew like all up in our ear. Like
All of it. My daughter says I loud chew. I'm like, you just have good ears, and really good ears. We didn't run the vacuum enough around you when you were a baby.
there you go. Therein lies the problem. But you know what? We got it figured out, though. We got it figured out. We're here. We're good. And I'm gonna wait till you take a swig before I pass it on to you to give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. Talk to them today. Talk to these guys a lot. I mean, so it shouldn't surprise you. HitmanIndustries.net. Now you can get AR barrels, any caliber you want, pistol, rifle, any length you desire for your next AR build, or re-platform your current AR system that you have. That's Hitman. Re-barrel your current AR platform. There you go. Do it that way. HitmanIndustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Hog Holsters, that's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com, the best tactical concealed holster on the market. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want the best of field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, fire, EMS, get your group together, get your agency together, give them a call, give them a shout over at uscombatgear.com, where you get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. All you have to do to find our sponsors is follow the links in the description to this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you. Also want to encourage you, if you're watching the program live, go ahead and chime in. We're following your comments on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Rumble. Just give us a holler. Let us know what's up. Let us know where you're watching the program from. Let us know what you think about the topics. If you got anything interesting to say, we will share it, whether we agree or not. But if we do disagree, just know that we do reserve the right to mock you.
We will mock you. We will.
Yes, we will. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's program and talk about what we got going on right now. Now, there have been a lot of reports, and it seems almost kind of weird how many reports there have been about failures in air traffic safety. It's been like, it seems like every week there is a helicopter or a plane or something like that that is going down, that is a near miss or something along those lines. And for some reason, the media has decided, particularly because Democrats have decided, that this is the fault of one President Donald Trump, who, when it first started happening, had been president for all of 5 minutes. Well, it turns out that, what we all kind of figured, it turns out that not only was this a problem dating back to during the Biden administration, probably even before then, not probably, definitely before then, but it's a problem that the Biden administration knew about and flat out ignored.
We hope not, but you can understand why it might. With that, we bring in Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Secretary Duffy, very good to have you with us. I know this is very much on your mind, but it's kind of mind-blowing to think about in the Infrastructure Act that passed in the Biden administration, $5 billion in funding was to upgrade the foundation of the FAA's air traffic control. Then you look at the money that goes to DOT, $545 billion over the last 5 years. How in the Lord's name can all that money not give us something better than a floppy disk system?
Yeah, so first off, I know everyone's shocked that the system is so old and antiquated, but it wasn't shocking to Joe Biden and it wasn't shocking to Pete Buttigieg. They knew we had an old system. They saw the GAO report saying it was about to fail. And so the largest infrastructure package, Martha, ever known to man in the history of the world, the infrastructure bill under Joe Biden, $1.2 trillion. They sent only $5 billion to fix air traffic control. And of the $5 billion, Pete Buttigieg spent less than $1 billion to fix this problem. Instead, he was focused on racist roads and changing the name of cockpit to flight deck or airman to aeronaut. Stupid stuff. And so now, as the Trump administration has come in, it was shortly after DCA, Martha, I started digging into the FAA and realized it wasn't just one small part of the infrastructure. It was the whole infrastructure that had to be built brand new. And so I've developed a plan. I've talked to the president. He's signed off on the plan. We now have to go to Congress and say, listen, Congress, this is imperative. This is really critical infrastructure. Let's get the money to build this brand new. It's going to take time. It's going to take, 3 or 4 years to build it, but we're going to see results.
But you know what?
We're going to go to Newark first. Airports like that.
Well, I want to ask you about Newark specifically.
Yeah.
But this is not, and I'm not taking anything away from the argument that you make about the Biden administration or the prior Secretary of Transportation. However, this has been going on a long time ago. In 2003, Congress directed a modernization program, and they gave themselves 27 years, this congressional decision, in order to modernize the FAA. You were a congressman during that time, and I know you don't deal directly with transportation on your committee work, but, I mean, boy, this goes back over the last Trump administration and the Bush administration. It goes way back.
And so there's two problems with that. One, because it's complicated, Martha, right? So you have to keep planes in the air, taking off, landing, and you have to build a brand new system around it. So it is complicated, and because of that complication, no one has taken on the challenge of building this brand new, which is what we're going to do. And again, if you go out 10 years or 15 years from today, the technology changes. You got to build this brand new today. And again, what we have right now is the old school flip phone. You can't update the flip phone, Martha. You can send as many updates as you want, but it doesn't update. If you build an iPhone, you can actually update to the newest technology off of an iPhone. Yeah. That's what we're going to build.
So for those of you who didn't read the story, it's actually over at Fox News. I'll go ahead and I'll put it in the comments. But one of the things that they were pointing to, and this was a GAO report that basically said that, we're operating an air traffic control system, one that keeps millions of people alive in the air on a daily basis. And literally it's being run off of a floppy disk. A floppy disk. That's what they're using to manage it.
Yeah, let's be clear, Craig. It's probably not a floppy. It was probably a one of the plastic hard disks, a 3.5 inch.
Oh yeah, not one of the big.
Not one of the big 10 or 5/8 inch. Yeah, but it was definitely a disc. A disc, You're right. And all of these systems are ancient. They're absolutely ancient, and there's no interoperability between them. They're all different systems at each airport. Remember, Craig, I'm a pilot. I am required to tell you that most of the time, once a day at least. It's on my pilot license. Tell people you're a pilot once a day. So you deal with these systems in these different airports, which might have the greatest. And most of the times, the airports have something because a catastrophe happened there at one point, or a near miss kind of thing, and they get that system. That's when we develop, because that's how our government plays, Craig. Right? We don't develop, or we don't spend the money on life-saving equipment or safety equipment until after somebody's died. Because if we spend it ahead of time, well, maybe it won't happen. We do the risk assessment like that. But all of these airports, they don't have things that communicate. Newark is listen. The best thing they can do for Newark is shut it down and drown New Jersey. Just get rid of it. Get rid of the whole thing. Newark Airport. I mean, you're talking about a triangle of the three busiest airports in the world. It is the busiest corridor for air travel in the world. Between Kennedy, LaGuardia, and Newark. And that's not counting the other 3 or 4 minor general aviation airports about that, and 2 other smaller hubs to the north. It's the busiest corridor in the world. 2003, they said, oh, listen, they had a $1 trillion to get after it. Well, what else happened in 2003, Craig? Do you remember anything else that happened in the aviation industry in 2003? Anything? I don't know. How about the absolute 100% creation from scratch of DHS and TSA? That's where that money went. Okay. It went there. It went to securing cockpits and securing airport facilities. It didn't go anything for updating the floppy disks inside the tower. So it's good to see it's been identified. Yeah. And if they think they can get it done in 4 years and not 27 years, hey, where do I place a bet?
Well, I think Duffy makes a good point. He's like, in particular with the Biden administration, I mean, they passed what was supposed to be the largest infrastructure bill in history. And they basically threw a few pennies, or let me clarify, they budgeted a few pennies to go to fix air traffic control. And they actually threw a penny or two at the actual problem and spent the bulk of the money on racist roads.
Right. I mean, how many times did you and I have to say that was a sham? That was their DEI. That was their new green deal bill is where it was. And how much of that money do we know now didn't even stay in this country to improve roads in the Ukraine or that kind of nonsense?
Well, you know what the green stands for, a new Green Deal, don't you?
Yeah.
Dollar bills, y'all. It stood for dollar bills.
Yep,
and they had a chance. I mean, once again, Democrats had a very, very good chance. I mean, they had a good opportunity to fix that. I mean, one of the things about, people being willing, or Congress being willing to spend all kinds of money, they actually could have invested some real money and fixed some real things, which could have solidified Democratic control of Congress for a while. Instead, they decided to basically make up all of these things, spend money on their woke programs that actually didn't do anything except enrich their friends. And in the end, it wound up getting them the boot.
Yeah. Listen, I know in that bill they had provisions for the green train that was going to go to Hawaii was going to connect to your high-speed rail there in California.
Yeah. I forgot who was talking about that one. But there was somebody who was talking about that. It was just all bad. But so, folks, when you hear about these near misses or these disasters, or you hear about some of these things that are going on in the Department of Transportation, just know, Trump just got here. Let me put it this way, on everything. A lot of this stuff, it dates back to well before Trump got here. He literally just got here. He just got his first 100 days. He's already doing a lot. He can't fix everything right away. He'll try. Yeah. He'll say he will, but he's going to get to what he can get to.
I will say, listen, that ATC is a very stressful job. You're sitting in a box. You're not looking outdoors. You're trying to, judge lives based on a computer screen, a video game. It's a stressful job. It is also they're understaffed. They're paid well. Don't let them tell you they're not paid well. They're paid well enough. They are. Remember the DEI programs that we had. So We don't have the most qualified people in those positions. You have people that took the test and then wait a second, we need this number, this minorities, this many of those kind of minorities, put them in there. You heard the president say, I want the best.
Excuse me, sir. We cannot have you an air traffic controller. Your proximity to whiteness is, well, you're too close to white.
We want the most qualified black woman justice on the Supreme Court, right? Again, go into the hospital. I want the most qualified surgeon, not the most qualified anything surgeon, not the most qualified Indian surgeon, not the most qualified wire, or most qualified surgeon. And it should be the same way with air traffic controls, because you're talking about, two wide bodies coming together. You're talking about 500 deaths. That's if it happens over a cornfield. All right. God forbid it happens over a city.
Well,
where airplanes come
together. Especially in places, some of the most crowded most crowded skies in the nation.
Yeah.
If not the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, talking about changing things and moving things around and making things work, the Supreme Court of the United States, otherwise we like to call it SCOTUS, they have ruled that the trans military ban can, in fact, move forward. This being reported to us by the folks over at NBC News. I know some of y'all wonder, why does Craig use some of these woke news sources? Well, because you know what? I want some of our folks to know that I don't just read conservative news. In any case, here it says, Supreme Court allows Trump to implement transgender military ban. The Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed President Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military. The justices granted an emergency request from the Trump administration to lift a nationwide injunction blocking the policy while litigation continues. The court's brief order noted that the 3 liberal justices dissented. It says the decision is a loss for the 7 individual transgender members led by plaintiff Emily Schilling, a Navy commander who had sued to block it. No more trans at DOD, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said in a post on X. In a separate Defense Department post from earlier on Tuesday, before the decision was issued, Hegseth was seen in a video saying, "No more dudes in dresses. We are done with this expletive." There you go. That's the word I'll use. Anyway, what's funny is that they make it out that this is, we just don't want transgender people in the military. There's a reason. There is a foundational reason behind it. And part of it has to do with the fact that when you look at transgenderism and you look at the number of instances where it's tied to other mental health conditions like depression, like suicidal ideation, keep in mind, y'all are the ones telling us that if someone doesn't get a chance to change their gender or live their truth, they're going to commit suicide. So we got to let them do that. Well, if suicidal ideation is part of you, is something you're suffering with, I would rather not have you in a foxhole next to me. Maybe that's just the case. Then there's just the idea that as a part of that, you have people coming into the military and wanting to require that the military pay for their transition. Do we really think we want to? I mean, we wouldn't bring someone into the military if we knew they needed a surgery in order to be. We knew they needed a surgery coming into the military. I'm willing to bet we would probably say, yeah, we're not going to admit you because you're only doing it because you want or need that medical procedure. I don't know. I'm sure there are other reasons. I've never served in the military, but I'm sure that Mike has his thoughts on this one as well.
Yeah, goodbye. Listen, there's you're talking about catering to the 0.0001%, and with an organization that you're trying to get 100% maximum, effectiveness forward, we don't need to be dragged down in the rear by this. Again, Craig, and I'll stand by you with the mental issues as well, because I know the numbers we looked at, and I haven't looked at them in the past couple of months. It's prior to procedure, 40% have had desires or attempted suicide or committed suicide. And then afterwards, they have the procedure. That number changes to 40%. Okay, it stays the same. So procedure doesn't change anything. It's just what you've been told and led to believe. But yeah, you can't. I mean, we're using men's rooms, we're using ladies' rooms, or whose barracks are we in, and we're in the same tank. It's too much of a distraction. You want to do that at your civilian company? Have at it. Do what you want. You want to do that in an Abrams A2 SEP? We ain't playing DEI in my tank. Go away.
Well, and I'm all for people living their truth, right? But the military is not a place to live your truth. The military is a place where you go and you learn how to kill people and break things. And you do it on behalf of America.
To close with and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver. Come on, baby. Come on. Come at me, bro.
You say that every time, and I'm like, I just get the ooh when you say that. Just like whispering sweet nothings, like ooh, ooh.
We get paid to shoot people in the face.
Shoot them in the face.
In the face.
I mean, here's the thing. Even with that, if you're going into combat and you're dealing with for people who've been in combat, there's already enough emotional, spirit, a lot of stuff they have to deal with when they come back from that, right? Let's not add to that the whole gender identity challenge and all the things that tend to come with it. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, and let's be clear. Listen, this administration has said, and he said it in the last administration, 45. Women serving in combat roles, okay, as long as you can meet the same standard, whatever the highest standard is, and that's for things like the 200-pound soldier next to you wearing the 75-pound ruck goes down. Can your 125-pound self come out? Now, there's 125-pound dudes. We know that as well, but they have to pass the same test. You got to bring the 200-pound guy out. That's what we have to do. Gays in the military, okay, no issue. Everybody's letting them do their jobs. They're everything's cool. It's not a distraction. We know where they're going. We know what they are. They're straightforward. They know their orientation. That was the word I'm looking for. Okay, good. Okay, but this is they're able to serve. Right. We're all able to serve side by side and do our jobs as long as we meet the same standard.
Well,
you start going to those other things. Yeah, you're going into, like you said. What standard are we using? Are we giving them 2 years off for surgery? It's just no.
And that's the point. It's less about them being transgender than all of the things that come along with that. By the way, Hegseth actually just put out a memo that yes, now men and women in combat roles will have to officially meet the same standards. So it may be different standards, physical standards to get into the military, but for certain jobs, specifically those in combat roles, you're going to have to meet the same standard. Women are going to have to meet the same standard as men. And I think that's called equality. That's called fairness. I don't understand why it's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. One quick note as well: the Supreme Court today on the military side, the admiral, the female admiral that was relieved, as she was the brass in charge of NATO. She was our lead military person at NATO headquarters. She was the one, remember, to refuse to put up the President and Secretary of Defense's new pictures on the wall, and then they relieved her and sent her home, and she appealed, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they said today, the commander-in-chief is the chief authority for everybody in the military. Your appeal's denied. You got till the end of the week to process out.
Oh, well, please tell me that was unanimous.
It was what?
Please tell me it was unanimous.
I don't know if it was unanimous. I'll have to go take a look. I'll let you know. I'll interrupt you during the next segment.
There you go. I would think that one would be unanimous. It should be. I mean, at a certain point, we have to have some sort of a consistency in terms of who's the authority of what. And in this particular case, you are 100% correct. He is the commander of the armed forces. And if y'all don't want to obey the orders, if you don't want to follow the commander, then it's time for you to go.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I'll have the info for you here shortly. I'll do that.
Okay. Moving right along. You guys remember the shooting at the congressional baseball game? Well, Turns out, and this is a great example when a lot of people are like, well, the agencies are nonpartisan, the law enforcement agencies are nonpartisan, yada, yada, yada. And I would agree to a certain degree that they are nonpartisan, but let's also, though, be honest. They are run by bureaucrats. They are run by the deep state. And the deep state, while it has its folks on the right, it's mostly left leaning. And there's certain narratives that they don't want to allow to be out there or allow to be pushed. And God forbid, should anyone go after a Republican, God forbid we should actually be honest about the fact that it was actually ideologically motivated. Well, guess what? Turns out, according to a House Intel report, FBI butchered the 2017 congressional baseball shooting investigation, and they used false statements to uphold a narrative. Let's see here. A scathing report released Tuesday by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence concluded that the FBI knowingly butchered its probe into the 2017 baseball shooting in order to bolster another narrative. Quote, the FBI used false statements, manipulation of known facts, and biased and butchered analysis to support a narrative that Hogginson committed suicide by cop without any nexus to domestic terrorism, the report stated. Then, based upon no new information or evidence gathering, the FBI changed its previous decision that the case was a purely criminal matter involving suicide by cop. The blistering House report continued. After that, the FBI, quote, spent the next 4 years privately guarding the basis for its determination by impeding congressional oversight, the committee said. The report explained that after Hogginson's June 14, 2017 attack on Republican lawmakers in Alexandria, Virginia, the FBI hastily concluded that the gunman opened fire on members of Congress because he wanted to commit suicide by cop. The committee finds the FBI's conclusion to be inconsistent with the facts and evidence, the report said, pointing out that in order to commit suicide by cop, the perpetrator needs to demonstrate hostile intent in the presence of police. But Hogginson's case, there were no observable police officers present. Given that authorities were dressed in plain clothes, the House Intelligence report revealed. Capitol Police officers dressed in plain clothes engaged Hogginson after he opened fire on Republican lawmakers. But the uniformed officers in Alexandria Police Department arrived about 3 minutes afterwards, the committee noted. Now, remember, this guy was a Bernie bro. This guy was a committed member of the Democratic Socialist Party movement. And we know he went after, this is the reason why he went after the Republicans. And by the way, the only reason Capitol Police were there was because there were participants from leadership there. If it had just been congressional members don't have protective details. So the Capitol Police were only there because members of leadership were there. And how would this guy probably wouldn't have even known that. So he was clearly going there to kill him some Republicans. But the FBI tried to basically, they didn't want to call that an instance of domestic terrorism.
I mean, at this point, Craig, can we say, are you surprised? Is it anybody surprised by this? You know,
No,
absolutely not. You know, it just.
I'm not surprised. It bothers me that, I like to see the truth come out. I mean, it doesn't bother me that the truth is coming out. I just think it's important that the truth come out, that as a matter of the record, we make this stuff known. Because you and I have known this sort of stuff since, we knew it as soon as you found out he was a Bernie bro.
Yeah. Like, the gun was still hot, you know, when we knew, you know, absolutely. And this is what you're going to get more and more and more and more. And you're going to see more and more from the left where they try to block it. You know what did I see the past week, Craig? I've seen that Trump's going to end suicide awareness program and a suicide hotline. This week I've seen Trump's going to stop the Head Start program in schools. He's canceled it. And then when you go back and you take a look, right, Craig, there are items in the overall budget that says, and they've put a question mark next to everything. When you're doing what DOGE is doing, they're looking at every program, and somebody has identified that we need to look at the suicide program to make sure it's effective and it's not wasting money. We need to look at Head Start and make sure it's effective and not wasting money. But the headlines come out: Trump to cancel Head Start. your kids won't get money for school. You know, it's just they're going to continue to do everything. So I love seeing the news come out. You know,
it's even worse than that, Mike. There are instances where they're like, well, Medicaid is a great example. Medicaid is a part of a larger department. And because they're proposing cuts to that larger department, Democrats are insisting that they're cutting Medicaid, even though it's been made very clear they are not cutting benefits. They're not doing anything along those lines. What they are going to do is they're going to find waste, fraud, and abuse. And they're going to root those things out. And that's how they're going to get savings. But it doesn't matter what Republicans say. It doesn't matter what the budget actually says. They're going to continue to lie. They did it on education. They stood there before school board members from California and lied to our faces. Doesn't matter. No, doesn't matter. They don't need the truth. They don't need to tell the truth because the media is going to back them up. The media is going to say whatever they want. And you would think that the media would have learned because right now, the media is only slightly more popular, has a slightly more trust than Congress, and both of them are less popular than syphilis. So
yeah.
You would think they'd know
I was
better.
going to say, it's hard to find something that you could like less, including syphilis. Yeah.
Syphilis a little bit. Syphilis is they're in a running battle to see who's less liked.
If you're in New York, make sure you see it. It's Syphilis on Broadway.
Syphilis on Broadway. Anyway, but it's good to see stuff like this revealed. And that's why when we talk about the deep state, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these folks who basically are seeking to undermine. A lot of other Republicans haven't really cared about the deep state because, the deep state's not messing with their, whatever their big thing is, or they're not smart enough to realize that the deep state is messing with their big thing. But Donald Trump has come in, when he talks about clearing out the swamp, most of those gators, those swamp things, they're not even necessarily Democrats. They're bureaucrats. They're like I said, deep state bureaucrats. They're the ones that really need to get got.
Exactly right. That's the swamp he's got to drain. And he's doing it. He's doing it. Supreme keeps saying stuff like, yeah, you could fire him. Yeah, you could send him home. Yeah, you could do it.
Yep, send him home. Bye-bye. Bye, Felicia.
Yeah. And a boss. He's the head of the company. Of course he could fire who he wants.
Well, like I said, what I've always said, what's really funny about this is it's really been the liberals and the deep state that have really worked to give the chief executive, all of this power. And the problem that they have is not that the executive has or is using all of this power. It's that he's using it to undo what they have spent decades building.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's my job. It's protected. Hey, how about this? All right, Craig, let's say you work for a big company, right? And you come in one day and they go, Craig, you're the last fired. We got to make cutbacks. You're fired. Sorry, we'll put you on recall notice, but that's it. No, it's blah, blah, blah. I want this back. And then you go to court and you tell the judge, I want my job back because they fired me. And then your boss goes, we're $35 trillion in debt. We have to start cutting costs. Oh, geez. Okay. I didn't realize that. It's just, every dollar counts. And we start at the bottom. We start with the temporary workers that are sitting around with their thumbs in their butts, coming to work one day a week. Goodbye. Go away.
There you go. Sometimes it be like that.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. You might have heard that now via the CB1 Home app, that they are offering illegal immigrants $1,000 to self-deport. Well, Democrats are trying to one-up them. And this, according to our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. Democrats offer illegal immigrants $1,001 to stay in the U.S.
Do it.
What do you think?
Do it. I'm going to go. I'm going to pump in a quarter to get it back up to leave again.
There you go.
I'll make it 1,001 and 25.
Yeah. 25 cents. There you go. Well, also now that the Supreme Court has made it clear, Corporal Klinger can finally be discharged from the Army after trans military ban.
About time. At this point, he should have 75 years in. So yeah, he's going to have to go.
Yeah, it's about that time. It's about that time. I think we've pretty much aged ourselves with this one. And not a lot of people, unless you are watch old reruns of MASH, won't get this. But I think a lot of our folks will.
By the way, the back pain he has from wearing the high heels, not service related.
It's not considered service related.
Not service related.
Should have worn service issued shoes. That's the problem.
That's right.
There.
If he wore his combat boots, he'd have been all right. But he wore them high heels in Korea, so not service related.
Definitely not service related. And finally, Harvard awards honorary degree to man who firebombed Governor Shapiro's house. They must really not want any federal money.
Harvard. There you go.
Harvard.
You
Anyway.
can't drop that bomb here.
You like apples? How you like them apples?
Son of a bitch stole my line.
Good Will Hunting. Check it out. Good stuff. All right, folks. So that brings us to the end of the program. But before we go, we got one last thing to do, and that's one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
HitmanIndustries.net. Get on over to HitmanIndustries.net. You can get AR barrels, any caliber, pistol or rifle, any length you desire for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's HitmanIndustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, military, law enforcement, security, whatever it is, get your group together, get your agency together. Get on over to uscombatgear.com where you can get everything but the gun.
And once again, folks, please take a moment, visit our sponsors. All you have to do is go to the links in the description to this program. Check them out. Spend some money with them. Make sure you tell those the guys over at the Rundown that sent you. And with that, we're going to call it a day. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on a hump day. Till then, y'all have fun. Stay safe. See you mañana.